Oh my God.
Okay.
Okay,
Welcome back to Buckety Fuck.
Yeah. Welcome back to Terror Takeover, your one-stop shop for all things creepy, disgusting, and horrifying. I'm your host, Crow.
And I'm your host, Zoe.
And we're excited about today's episode. It's just us again. I know that we said Charlotte was going to be back for this week, but she's got some stuff going on today. She's going to be back next week. We talked to her today, and she's good for that. So, yeah, just a lot going on right now. There's just like so much. I feel like my schedule has just been absolutely packed lately, and it's driving me crazy.
I know you do a lot, dude.
I don't know what it is. It's just like I don't know. I'm so bad about scheduling. I think I need to get better about like being organized and like actually writing down like what I have to do and when.
I'm really trying with that. You know, I could say the whole organization thing, that is something that I am really trying to work on. And I'm like, I'm getting more organized. But no, I have the same piles of clothes sitting on my couch.
Oh God, don't talk to me about piles of clothes. Mine is lurking in the corner of my room like the blob. It's like so bad. Fuck, I just have shit piled up right now. But holidays are always like crazy, and then obviously like they're not over, so we still have like a ton of like stuff to worry about. Anyway, let's not talk about worrying.
I mean, speaking of holidays, Thanksgiving was kind of laid back this year. I mean,
oh yeah,
it kind of crept up on us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it kind of always is though. Like I never really do crazy stuff for Thanksgiving. Like just go to, you know, family's house, and it's never like a huge gathering, eat, and then go home and sleep all day.
What's like your go-to? Like, what are you going for first whenever you get to Thanksgiving?
Mac and cheese, definitely.
Oh, mine is the green bean casserole always.
Ooh, yeah. I haven't had green bean casserole in forever.
Ooh.
Nobody in my family makes it.
Oh shit. Yeah, they
got
made
a little
that
sniffle?
Eggplant. Oh, maybe.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. Is that
some allergies
of the season?
I know. I'm so scared. I got like a little bit sick the other day, but it was like just a little scratchy throat, but it wasn't too bad. So thankfully it's gone, and it didn't end up getting worse than it was.
No, but earlier I was just getting like some last minute notes, and I was like texting Crow, and I was like, I feel like I'm in the secret window right now with like Johnny Depp, because he's like a mad writer in the movie, and he's not going to stop until he finishes this book.
That's yeah.
It was.
I haven't seen that movie in forever.
It's so good. I know it's not on a lot of people's watch list, but I think I really like it a lot.
Let's talk about how our weeks went other than Thanksgiving. I've been watching Dragula, and I told you about this, and I really want you to watch this show. If you don't know what Dragula is, it's a show that's like similar to Drag Race in like concept, as far as it's like a drag competition basically, and they judge based on fashion shows and different challenges and stuff, but it's got a dark horror twist to it and like a little bit of like a punk vibe. It's super cool. All of the queens are like in some way inspired by horror or like gothic, like beauty and fashion and stuff like that. And actually, in one of the most recent episodes, Matthew Lillard was a guest judge, and I was so excited. It was so adorable. Like he looked like he had the time of his life.
Oh, I know you showed me that. You sent me like a little snippet, and you were like, I think you would really enjoy this. And I saw Matthew Lillard, and I was just like, oh my goodness. I've been trying to find, it's just called Dragula.
Yeah, like Dracula, but with Dragula. But it's on I think the newest season is only on Shudder. I don't remember what the rest of it was on, but all of it is on Shudder, but like the newest season I think is like exclusively on Shudder or something. Shudder, you need to sponsor us, because I talk about you almost every single episode. I love Shudder. I'm never getting rid of my subscription.
I need to get one.
It's really good. I feel like there's always something, and honestly, the whole thing about them is like they actually are really good about turnaround, I guess, of titles. Like it's not just the same thing forever and ever. So there's always something new to watch, which I appreciate. And now they're starting to do like their own stuff, like their Shudder like exclusives and stuff, which is really cool.
Hell yeah, Shudder's where it's at. I can't believe I don't have a subscription. Like that just surprises the hell out of me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Potential Christmas present idea. Oh my gosh, my phone's going off. Sorry. Oh, also, me and Zoe rewatched Hell House LLC, which we talked about in a previous episode. And I will say I'm willing to budge slightly on my previous opinion. I think the last time we talked about it, I was like, absolutely not. I hated that movie, but I'm gonna be totally honest. Like, I feel like it was amusing enough to keep me entertained. We were talking about how like the cultists in the movie are like kind of lame looking and they're not like really that scary. So
Mhm.
that's the only thing that I would like, well, not the only thing, but that's the main thing that I would change that I think could improve the movie a lot. And also like the scene in which that clown dummy kept like moving around was like
Oh
pretty
my gosh. It
scary.
was pretty
So
scary. I mean,
I'll give
that's
them that.
absolutely fucking terrifying. I watched it the
Yeah.
first time alone, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of gave up towards the middle because it was just
Yeah.
moving like way too slow for me.
Me
Like
too.
I kind of like a steady pace, not too fast, but just good enough to just keep me on my toes. But I will say the
Right.
clown was fucking terrifying.
Yeah, it was super scary.
Are we spoiling this movie or
Oh, at this point, no.
okay?
No, I mean, I feel like what we've said about it doesn't even like cover the beginning of like what happens in that movie, like there's still a lot going on.
Right. I mean, you can vouch for that. I mean, we went to your house and we laid on your couch and watched it, and I got too comfortable. Like it was moving so
Yeah,
slow
she
that
passed out.
I look. I'm sorry, Hell House, but I passed out within the first 5 minutes. Okay, I'm
Oh my
sorry, but I
gosh.
did
You're
wake
also
up.
so sleepy though. I feel like like if the lights are off and you have a blanket on you, like you're going to go to sleep,
Oh
period.
yes, no
Like
knockout, done.
regardless of like how interested you are in the movie or whatever.
Yeah, is that the only film they've done, or do they have more?
Um, honestly, I'm not really sure. I didn't look into it
Yeah,
actually. I think that I mean they already have like 3 Hell House movies.
right.
So I don't know if they're like focusing on that or what. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you guys can let us know. Did they do anything else that was interesting or worth watching, or was Hell House kind of like their end all be all? So far, that is anyway.
I don't know. The haunted house was kind of whack,
It was a little
but
bit whack.
that's just me. That's just
Yeah,
me.
Dev.
But I will say without spoiling it too much, I really really enjoyed what they were trying to go for towards the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But I just feel like they weren't delivering enough. It's like they tried super duper hard, and then when it got towards the end, they were like, "All right, we're running out of budget, guys.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure. For sure.
let's just kill it
They
real
spent what
quick."
they could on the dummies, the clown dummies. They said,
But
"Shit, I didn't realize that shit was like $200."
overall, the movie's got some potential. It's got some potential.
Yeah, definitely. I could see like the franchise like maybe like going somewhere, but anyway, we don't have to like go crazy on that one or whatever,
Mhm.
but okay, just some horror news for the week, or really, I guess, for the past 2 weeks, because I've been planning this for a few weeks now. We just kept having to push it back because of holiday stuff.
Mhm.
Satanic Hispanics, the first all Latino horror anthology, is now available for rent on select streaming services. I'm going to have to check that one out because it sounds amazing.
Oh
I
yeah. I
love the
mean,
name.
definitely for sure. I looked into that one, and I definitely feel like we're gonna get some like culture like exploration,
For sure.
Like
That's
I'm
sick. I love
pretty
that.
excited about that.
Yeah, and we all know that representative is so important, especially
Oh
in
yeah.
marginalized communities like the horror fan community. So
Mhm.
I love that. Another movie, this one I'm really excited about, Your Lucky Day, a Christmas movie set in a convenience store in which 6 strangers are willing to shed blood over a winning lottery ticket. It was released onto VOD earlier last week, and I actually had to look what that was, and it's video on demand. But
Uh,
anyway, it sounds really, really good, and that's a concept that I think is really cool. Um, just like there's a guy in a convenience store, from what I saw from the trailer or whatever, that gets a winning lottery ticket and announces it to everyone, and they basically try to like kill each other over it, which I think is
oh shit.
really sick. That's a really crazy concept, and you could totally see that happening, especially in like today's climate.
Man.
So I definitely want to see that movie.
Merry Christmas.
Merry goddamn Christmas.
Yeah,
I
you
said
almost said
Merry
it.
goddamn Christmas. No,
Wait,
it's cool.
can we just mention because I think this would be so fuck see, like okay, so last episode, I'm gonna put myself on the spot real quick.
On blast.
I don't know if you guys, the audience, heard. Look, I have a big potty mouth. Okay.
We all do, though.
And I was saying like fuck like every what
Every
30
other word,
minutes,
basically.
and
No.
Crow was like, she's like, look girl, I'm not trying to tell, but like you were saying the F word, like I'm like, I'm so sorry.
And we're not like, we're by no means like trying to censor ourselves or whatever, but I was like,
Right.
hey, I know that
It's a little
you're gonna
much.
listen to it and you're gonna like be like, damn, maybe I should have chilled. So I was like, let's like
Oh
be
my
better
gosh.
about it. But then of course now I accidentally made it weird.
That's
So every
funny.
time we're about to say fuck, we're like, ooh. So
That
excuse us if we hesitate a little bit, but
that movie that you described, Your Lucky Day, that should be streaming soon. I kind of got the vibes of one, I don't know why it gave me Willy Wonka vibes because he's trying to get the ticket and
oh
everybody
my
wants the ticket.
gosh.
And
Yeah,
then the
totally.
second was that movie we watched, Holidays, where Seth Green goes and he gets the VR device and he literally hurts someone over the device.
Wait, I don't remember that.
You
We
don't? It
just
was like
watched it.
it was around Christmas time and he wanted to get a VR set
Oh,
for his son.
wait. Yeah, 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 yeah. I remember.
Yes,
I
yes,
remember.
yes. So, I don't know, it just blows my mind and makes me realize that, there is inspiration that comes from other movies, and I think that's just so fucking cool.
Okay, guys, today we are talking about a short film called Skin and Bone by Eli Powers. Skin and Bone was released on YouTube via the Alter channel, which coincidentally is the same channel that released Piggy that we talked about in our first short film episode. And I know that a lot of you guys really liked that one. So I'm excited to revisit an Alter short film. I always like everything on their channel that I've seen, just about. So this one was no exception.
Oh yeah, this one was really, really fucking good. Like, I had to watch it again today. I actually showed Thorn this one. I was like, "You have to watch this short film with me. It is so good."
Oh my
Um,
God, I want to know what he thought
and
about it.
dude, it was absolutely insane, and I found myself taking more notes on because there's just a lot to take from it, and
Oh yeah, definitely.
I can't wait to see your point of view from it.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my God, I have so many notes. We were just talking about this
Tons.
earlier. A little bit about the director, Eli Powers. He's a relatively new director. His first
Mm.
short film was called Kidnap Me, debuting in 2014, which
Mm.
sounds a little crazy, but I'm probably going to check it out after this. But I saw that he was actually, from his IMDb page, assistant to Amanda Seyfried dating back to 2015.
Huh.
And he even had a small acting role playing the assistant of Amanda Seyfried's character, Susanna, in You Should Have Left from 2022, in which she was coincidentally also playing an actress. And I'm assuming that this is how she came to star in Skin and Bone, just because it's like, it just seems so random to me, especially since this guy didn't have a whole lot of like experience
Mm.
directing short films and stuff. So basically, as far as the plot of the movie, at the beginning of the film, Amanda Seyfried's character named Serene is wrangling an unruly horse, and she tells the horse it's all a bad dream. And I was like, what the hell? When I first saw that, I didn't understand. Then we're introduced to the character Christian, who's blind in one eye. It's visible, and he's hitchhiking to her farm looking for work. At first, Serene seems concerned about his appearance, but she does give him the job, and he ends up staying in the barn with the livestock, which seems strange at first, but it makes sense later on. And he's responsible for a series of simple, like regular farmhand tasks. So that's like chopping wood, staining leather, feeding the animals, and stuff.
Mhm.
I think it's the first night he dreams that he's been awoken just in the middle of the night to the sound of a horse shifting around in his room. And when he looks, it's a naked man
Oh
shivering in the
my
corner. And I will
god.
say that, like, that
That
actually
scared
really shook me. Yeah.
it shook me. I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. I was just chilling. And then I literally went, oh, like, I
It
got
kinda
like kind of freaked
reminded me
out.
of that, like, scene in Mulholland Drive
Oh my
where it's just that
gosh.
unexpected,
Yeah.
jump scare,
That's one of my
and
favorite scenes of any movie ever because it's just so ridiculous.
yeah.
But anyway, at the end of the dream, we get like a really quick glimpse of Christian stabbing something, and then he just wakes up abruptly. So we don't really know what that's all about.
Mhm.
The next day, Christian hears Serene playing banjo and singing in the barn. And actually, I just wanted to
Oh
mention
my
Amanda
god, she
Seyfried has a really pretty
that's what
voice.
I was going to
Yeah.
say. I was like,
I was
"Amanda!"
kind of shocked. I wasn't expecting that, but she has a really
I
pretty. I wonder if she
know.
was actually no. She couldn't
I
have been playing the banjo, right? That'd be sick if
She
she
could
was,
have
though.
been. I mean, hell,
Who
you can learn
knows?
anything.
Right? So anyway, Christian stops to listen to her sing. Serene asks why he wanted a job of that nature, like why he wanted to do a farmhand job that's in the middle of nowhere. And he basically tells her he just thinks he's better off like doing things alone. Later that day,
Mhm.
Christian finds a grave in the forest with fresh flowers. So you can assume that it's like a grave that she visits probably pretty frequently. The next morning, he's feeding the goats, and then he has a vision of someone rubbing blood on a person's back, and it kind of looks like some sort of ritualistic thing. I mean, he
Right.
has a little bit of a freak out, and then later on, he's just like doing his duties around the farm, and he notices this like white horse in the field. That night, the same white horse calls out to Christian, and as he's approaching the horse kind of like transforms to another naked man, not the same one as before, just a different naked man. And the man claims that he's under the horse's skin, and then he just like screams. And that's a pretty cool scene in which he's like doing the screaming. Then the next day, Christian suddenly, like after that, like I guess vision thing, suddenly starts adopting like pretty violent mannerisms. And he's imagining himself destroying Serene's banjo. And
Mhm.
she acts like she's concerned about him. She's like, "Are you sick?" She invites him inside for dinner. Then during dinner, Christian admits that he used to have a wife after some prodding by Serene. But then he tells her that he started hating his wife, so he left. And he said that while his wife was sleeping next to him, he would imagine what it'd be like for her to stop breathing, which is
Shit.
like, that's okay. That's a
Okay.
lot to just admit over dinner with your new employer that you're staying
Oh,
with alone.
man.
And then Serene, I don't remember how it gets to this point, but she tells him that her mother is buried on the hill. And then
Right.
he like kind of gets mad, which is a little strange, and tells her that he finds it strange that it's only women buried there. And then she gets mad that he found the graves, and she tells him that the reason why he's alone is because he's weak. And then he walks out without saying anything and just has a meltdown in the barn again and starts hearing the voices again. While he's having the meltdown, arms reach out from a crack in the barn wall and they are presenting him with a knife, saying, "Only you can free us." And he takes the knife. And then he goes back out, and the like man horse thing, the white horse in the field, tells Christian where to find a gun to shoot him, meaning the white horse and Serene, saying that it would free the animals from her. And during this time, it's like showing this shot of Serene just like singing and like rocking in a rocking chair as Christian takes the knife and stabs a different horse in the barn to death. And the scene is interlaced with flashes of like a human being murdered. So it's like he's stabbing the horse, but you're seeing like a human being killed basically. And then at dawn, Christian gets the shotgun and he's about to shoot the white horse. Like he's like aiming it at the white horse, and it's like this tense moment. And I thought we were about to have a when evil lurks moment here, but that didn't
Mhm.
happen because Serene comes out of nowhere saying, "Wait, stop! It's all a bad dream," which was what she was telling the horse in the beginning of the movie. And then he just becomes calm and he's kind of almost in a trance-like state. And then in the final scene, Serene is feeding a goat, and then it turns. And actually, this is a pretty cool shot. I'm gonna
It
admit.
really is.
The goat like turns, and then you see like it's got a blind eye, so you can
Right.
assume that Christian turned into the goat.
Ooh. Or was, you know, what I took from that, I that scene just blew me away, honestly, what these short film directors can do in such a short span of time. It just
Right.
really blows my marbles. Like the last scene, it gave me goosebumps and I was like, "Wait, like did he turn into the goat or what if the goat is having a bad dream?"
Okay, I'm
You
gonna
know?
admit, I know, right? I thought about that. I'm gonna admit, like, it took, and then I know everybody watching this, after we've explained it already, of course, is gonna be like, they're gonna get it right away. But I'm gonna admit, for some reason, that's not what I expected to happen at the end.
Mhm.
What I thought, okay, I thought while they were having the dinner, I said, "Oh, the reason why the men aren't buried is because they ate them." So I just thought, like, oh, she's just like, like her family is like cannibals,
Oh,
which they do because
interesting.
they ate the livestock, like I
Right.
assume is what was happening. But I was thinking that the reason why, and it's so glaringly obvious now, like in hindsight, but I was thinking that the reason why Christian kept seeing like people and
Mhm.
stuff was because like maybe he had murdered like some people and he was like just having flashbacks about it, but like for some
Right.
reason it wasn't glaringly obvious to me that all the people were, or all the men were, the livestock, and now obviously it is. So I kind of felt a little bit like dumb about that, but
I personally think I think Amanda's a witch. I think she's
Oh
a
yeah,
witch.
for sure. Yeah, definitely.
110%. I mean, that's just what I really, really enjoy about short films like these. Like, it opens your imagination, but I will say at the same time, I kind of prefer like clarity over mental gymnastics. Like, I don't know. Like, I
I
don't like,
feel that. I can feel that,
yeah, I don't like
honestly.
being confused.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like in my personal opinion, just like as far as what I like, I think
Hmm.
that there should be a balance. I think that
Right,
like
for
there should
sure.
be some things that you're going to want to think about, and there should be some things that like don't need to be like, you don't need to beat around the bush all the time. Like some things it's okay to just come out and say it, and some things it's okay to let people like come to their own conclusions. And I think that's what makes like certain films so successful, is because they are able to achieve like a successful balance of those two things.
Right. And I will say like about this film in particular, something that I've been really studying when I watch films is, and I think I've sent you like little videos and interesting facts like that, just the lighting. You know, there's
Oh
lots of color
yeah.
palette going on. I mean, there's a lot of oranges, which, you know, can represent danger in a movie. And then at first it's like we got some blue lighting, very calm. It just
Hmm.
I just love looking at little details like that.
Yeah, and color honestly makes such a huge like
Mhm.
difference in certain scenes, and a lot of the time you don't even notice it. Like a lot of the time it is totally subconscious, which I think is really really cool. Which I'm sorry, it seems like I mention Argento in every single episode, but like if you consider a movie like Suspiria, like
Mhm.
he just uses color like so greatly to his advantage, and it's incredibly successful. Like you think about the parts where it's just all red or it's just all green, and it's like
Mhm.
wow, like if you just tried to put that on a normal color palette, it would not have had nearly the effect that it did, in my opinion.
What do you think, like, they kept showing the white horse a lot.
Right.
What did that signify for you?
You know what? I like considered it and I didn't really come to a conclusion for myself, but I'm sure
Mhm.
that it has some sort of symbolism behind it. Did you have any ideas?
Oh, yes. Yes, I've been
I
waiting for this moment.
thought you'd
Um,
never ask.
so, I have actually, the white horse, it it's actually used by a lot of directors. I remember first seeing like a white horse in one of Rob Zombie's movies, and when I looked it up like on the internet, apparently like the white horse like symbolizes death, and it like comes from the
Hmm.
New Testament, the
Oh
four
yeah,
horsemen
yeah, yeah, yeah.
of the apocalypse, like also known as the pale horse. So yeah, in certain
Yeah,
terms it represents death, which is mind-blowing to me.
absolutely. That's pretty sick. I
That
totally
is
forgot
sick.
about that. That makes sense. I like
Yeah,
that.
that is so sick.
I felt like there's probably a lot of little details in the short film that like the director put in there purposefully that I probably
Mhm.
missed, and I was trying to catch them, and honestly I probably just need to go back and watch it again to be able to catch all of them. Because you can tell that he really was like about his like symbolism.
Right. Um
Let's go ahead and talk about the cinematography, I think.
Ooh.
Just as far as how the movie looks and everything, I was really impressed by this, especially I looked up the director before I went into watching it. So I really wasn't expecting that much,
Mhm.
just because he's not like super, super experienced. But it looks very professional from the cinematography alone. You'd never guess that this was like a relatively inexperienced director, in my opinion. It's shot in 4K also, so it's like really high quality. You can
Hell
tell that
yeah.
probably their equipment that they used, both for the cinematography and the sound design, was probably very expensive. I felt that the scenes were lit and shot well, and also from a variety of different perspectives as well. Like there were some parts where they're filmed from behind, from the front, from far away, from very close up. I thought that that was very effective in improving
Mhm.
the overall look and feel of the film, in my opinion. And then also like touching on that sound quality, I thought that it was very professionally mixed and recorded. Everything was like super crisp and sounded very high def, and it was balanced as well. There weren't any parts where I felt like and this can happen a lot in like short films. If there's like a jump scare, for example, or just something dramatic happens, it's like, wow, that was the
Right.
loudest sound effect ever, but I can barely hear the dialogue.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that at all. Like the sound design on this was really, really
Yeah.
successful, in my opinion.
I can definitely say that I really enjoyed the distorted voices. Like
Yeah, that was
it
cool.
added that eerie feeling, you know, how the whispering sounds like just create just unsettledness.
Oh, another thing that I wanted to mention was like the minimal music. I love that.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna say that like I prefer there to be no music in a film, but I feel like a lot of the time, like it's just covering something up. Like it's maybe just covering a boring part. And so they're like,
Right.
here's a dramatic song to like make it better. I really don't like that a
Here's
lot of the
Stairway to
time.
Heaven.
Yeah, anyway, here's Wonderwall. But I felt that this short film opted mostly for like sound effects, and I totally appreciate that. It wasn't like overstimulating or anything.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
unsettling, but it wasn't like somehow it wasn't overstimulating. And I'm sure that
Oh,
if
yeah.
you have
That's a really
issues with
good way
stuff
to
like
look
that,
at
you
it.
get it. Absolutely. There are some short films where I'm like, okay, what? Like, I literally
Mm.
just have to like watch it in increments because I just feel like I'm having an anxiety attack, and not because
Right.
the short film is successful, just because it's so like jumbled up, you know? Whew. But anyway, as far as like the plot, okay, this is where I start to like kind of pick the film apart a little bit. I'm so sorry. That's just how I am. Like I have to be a little bit critical. And it may sound like I'm being a little bit rude. I'm not trying to be. I'm just like giving my honest opinion, and I know that Zoe's going to do the same. I will start by saying I really appreciate that there weren't any random exposition dumps, which I feel like is a huge issue in both short films and found footage films. If you take a movie in which there's not like a lot of time to be able to develop a character, a lot of the time they'll kind of just like hit you with like these random dumps of like backstory, which I think is just totally unnecessary. Like for
Right.
like Amanda Seyfried wasn't like, oh, this is why I became a farmer, like in this random conversation that doesn't make sense in this point in
Yeah,
time.
wait. No, I dig that. Holy
Yeah,
shit.
it's kind
That's
of
why
like
it
this
wasn't
is just
so right. It was just straight to the point. Like I
period.
really enjoyed that.
Right.
Yeah, like you said, like just unnecessary shit. Like it was just like you kind of just open your imagination towards that.
Exactly. And
Her
it's
character was pretty good and spot on.
right. And then also, I feel like a lot of the time it's just not necessary to know that information, you know? Like, you don't need
Mm-mm.
to know why she does what she does. You don't need to know any of this shit. Like, she just does it, you know? It's a
Mind your
short film.
business.
Right. Mind your business and move along, sir. But okay, this is where I start getting a little critical.
Okay.
I do honestly feel like some scenes are a little awkward and like a little awkward to watch.
Mm.
One of the scenes, for example, I'm gonna try to like think of how to describe this, but when Serena's like sitting and like singing and she just has her like back turned like and he walks up and just like is watching her sing. I'm like, first of all, why is she like in the corner of the room? Like I don't know. I feel like it's strange. Like why would she just have her back facing that way? And then it's just like really awkward as she's just like sitting there watching her. Like I feel like I don't know, like I felt like I
Right.
wasn't supposed to be watching that. Like I felt like I stumbled across something I wasn't supposed to see. um and I understand that it makes sense because probably just from what I gathered from watching it, I feel like the song that she sings is probably supposed to be like a part of the spell that turns the men into the livestock, like starting to kind of like,
Mm.
I guess, hypnotize them in a way. So I get that. I just felt like
Right.
it was just like really strange. I felt like there could have been maybe a different way to do it, in my opinion. And then a different part that I thought was kind of awkward was like the whole it's a bad dream thing. Like,
It's all a
honestly,
bad dream.
like that whole part where she's like whispering it at him, like it just felt so okay. Let me explain to you how that part felt to me. So like when he's about to shoot the horse and she runs up and she's like, wait, stop.
Mhm.
It literally felt like in high school when two guys are fighting and then like one of the guys like girlfriends is like, no, you're
Oh
better
my
than this, and she tries
god.
to get in the middle.
Ew.
That's how that felt to me.
Ew.
I'm gonna be honest, that's literally how that felt to me.
Please stop. You're better than
Yeah,
this.
you're better than that.
Well,
It's just so
I mean,
awkward, I
wasn't
felt
she
like.
like, you know, putting a spell on him
Yeah,
as if a
definitely.
trance?
Absolutely, but I think
It,
the other part that was oh, I'm sorry, I keep cutting
no,
you
you're
off.
fine. I was gonna say if you were to film that scene, like how would you have done that differently?
Um, I'm okay, well, let me start by saying
Uh
I
huh.
feel like if it was that simple, why didn't like the minute he walked up on the farm, why
Hmm.
didn't she just do that in the first place? Or if she really needed all that
Huh.
work done on the farm, let him do the shit. And then before he's like going crazy about to shoot your horse, just like whisper to him like at dinner or something, you know?
Right.
Like it felt
Right.
like that was a very inopportune
Right.
moment to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I felt like, okay, wait. So So I'm gonna get into more about why I thought that scene was awkward too, just
Okay.
because. Okay. Well, yeah, we're gonna move on to more later. Hold on one second. Hey, listeners. Fun fact: Amanda Seyfried postponed her college enrollment after receiving the role of Karen Smith in Mean Girls. According to Seyfried, if she didn't become an actress, she would have likely studied meteorology, stating that she has always been fascinated by the weather. Could this have been the inspiration behind Karen's ability to tell when it rains? Okay, let's get into the pacing and structure, and that will kind of tie into like the other part of what I was talking about with like the plot awkwardness. I will say that the pacing does seem pretty quick if you're not used to short films, but that's usually the standard for short films just because you only have like a limited amount of time to actually get the point across. So usually, pacing has to be fast enough to drive the plot forward. So I'm totally cool with that.
Right.
Did you kind of feel the same way about that?
I I am gonna look here. I
Look at
so
here.
um I'm not shy to say that I write down notes for this podcast. I
Yeah, absolutely.
I I put down, and I quote, "Had a great pace, in my opinion.
Hell
Perfect
yeah.
timing." But I'm
Yeah.
gonna dig more into that. I personally, until this year, I haven't seen a lot of short films, but I will say the way that this was uh the way this was filmed and the pace and the structure, I will say that that is what I prefer. I
Yeah.
I prefer that kind of pace, just kind of like straight to the point. I mean, the short film was only like 17 minutes. I mean,
Right.
you've watched a lot of short films. Like what's the average time for a short film?
Well, so actually it can range like pretty like drastically, I feel like. So
Mhm.
honestly, I feel like a short film, in my opinion, can really be excuse me, anywhere from like 3 minutes, honestly, because I've seen some really short
Oh,
ones to
wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
up until like somewhere around like half an hour or so. If you're doing
That's
any longer than
crazy.
that, I feel like usually they'll just go ahead and just do an entire feature length film. But I have seen some that were like a lot longer, and then I've also seen some that were literally just like one scene, which I think is really cool, and I can appreciate stuff like that as well. Um, so yeah, there's like totally a huge range. But as far as for like the length of this one, I felt like this moved as fast as it needed to. I felt like if it
Mhm.
moved any faster, like it would have been like, whoa, this is kind of spinning my head. But if it moved any slower, then they probably wouldn't have been able to get anything done. So I totally commend him for that. I feel like he was pretty smart about like the pacing for the film at least.
Oh yeah, dude,
Um,
we could totally do a movie for Alter.
oh my gosh, I want
Like,
to.
is it open? Like, hey, Alter, do we have
I
to
know,
like
right?
message you guys?
I don't know how they do that. I
I
think that's something we should
know,
look into. That'd be
for
sick though.
sure. I mean, a short film would be fucking phenomenal.
Yeah,
Which I'll talk more about that towards the end. But
absolutely.
yeah.
Period. As far as like the structure of the
Mhm.
seams. Oh my gosh, I'm like
The
reading my notes and fucking up.
seams.
The structure of the scenes seemed a little off in places, honestly, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Um, like for example, okay, so the scene in which Christian notices the white horse in the field directly before the next scene in which the horse is talking to him, like I felt like he should have like maybe noticed the horse. Honestly, even when he was just like right as he got to the farm, like right before he saw her, like maybe the horse like like freaked out in the corner and then he looked
Oh,
and he
yeah,
thought that
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
strange. Just because I felt like with him being introduced to the idea of that horse and then literally the next scene it's talking to him, I felt like it was just like, oh, by the way, here's this thing, like I feel like a small amount of plot building between the two scenes could have definitely added a bit of
Mhm.
nuance and just made it a little bit more effective, just in my opinion. um and it doesn't seem just so like kind of thrown in randomly. And then also like the scene in which Christian is like talking about how he like hated his wife was like kind of weird. Like I felt like that was like out of nowhere.
You're such a
um
misogynistic asshole.
right, I
Like, and
feel
it
like
shows, and I'm not scared to
period.
say that.
Oh,
Like, he
absolutely.
was like, well, she was like, only women. No, he said only women, no men. And I'm like, okay,
Wait, he
bruh.
said that? Oh, talking
Yeah.
about the
When
talking
they were
about
at the
the
dinner table.
yeah, but he was talking about only women in the like graveyard, no men in the graveyard.
Mhm.
Yeah, like why was he like girl? Anyway, but I was gonna say that I know it's tricky because I know that it probably is like a big expense to do this, but I feel like his descent into madness like should have had a few more minutes of development, like even just a few more minutes of like a slow buildup of him like kind
Right.
of losing it, you
Yeah,
know?
it jumped
Like
pretty quickly.
right. It was like especially from the time the horse talked to him to the next day, he was just like chopping the wood and just like freaking out. Like it seemed like
Mhm.
that kind of just happened really fast. And even just a few more minutes would have like made it like would have sold it to me, I think, a little bit more. Oh, and then another thing that I felt like made the structure kind of like weirdly paced was why did like the hands give him the knife and then he went talk to the horse and then he went back to kill the other horse? Like I didn't understand that. I was thinking like why did he not just stab the white horse? And then what
Right.
was the point of the gun? Like I didn't understand why they needed both a knife and a gun. Like I felt like he could have just like okay, I felt like the ending scene in which he was like pointing the gun at the horse could have been just as effective, like if he was just like holding a bloody knife, like the one that he used to kill the first horse.
Mhm.
Like I feel like that would have been just as cool, in
I
my
don't know. I
opinion.
feel like having the gun and the knife kinda adds
A layer
some
of depth,
it
maybe.
yeah, it kinda adds, like, some character. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like if a knife adds one layer, a gun adds like three more layers. Maybe somebody had like a cool like somebody in the crew had like a sick shotgun and they were like, "Hey,
Oh,
use
yeah.
this." And they were
No, they
like, "Yeah, we
couldn't
can write it
decide
in
which
really
one they
quick."
wanted. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cuz the knife was pretty sick looking as well.
It was.
Let's talk about the characters. I feel
Ooh.
like both the actors did like a really good job. Obviously, Amanda Seyfried did amazing.
Oh,
I'm like a
yeah.
huge fan. I'm kind of like partial to her, so I have no choice but to think she did a great job. And like we were saying earlier, I felt like both the characters had all the depth necessary to support the plot. I felt like they didn't need to like talk more about their backstory. I felt like as far as everything that you knew about them was everything you needed to know, and you didn't need to know anything more than that. But I will say, like, as far as the dialogue, I don't know if you noticed this, but I felt like there was a
Hmm.
weird tension between the characters that just didn't need to happen. And I'm assuming that the reason for that is to imply like a sense of danger. Like you're supposed to be like, oh, somebody is unsafe, but we don't know who it is. But I feel like there are other ways to do that. Like I felt like it wasn't necessary for them to just kind of like be like really serious and angry at each other the whole time. Like I felt like they could
Right.
have had a little subtleness to it.
And, I mean, another thing was, she was pretty angry, and then second of all, this is where you mentioned, like,
Like
not enough go
development.
yeah, not enough going on, like, he kinda just walks onto the farm, and he's just like, "Hey," and then automatically she's just like, "What the fuck? What do you want?"
Yeah. Yeah, like she's
Um,
already yeah, they're already both pissed at each other immediately from the start.
but I think they are, both powerful characters in the short film, which
Yeah.
kinda adds to the creativity, but I will say overall, I think the dialogue was pretty just straight to the point. Like I said, I haven't seen many short
Yeah.
films. I plan on seeing more this year. That way
Oh,
I can
for
get on
sure.
board with everything. But
Absolutely. Yeah, I will say, like, from the intensity of, like, the characters, I'm gonna say that, like, that was probably written in the script, so I don't fault the actors for that at all. Like, I think that they're probably just, like, doing what they're, like, told or what they were supposed to do or what they felt like they were supposed to do, so just wanna, like, add that side note.
right.
You were talking about creativity. I feel like it was creative enough in my opinion. Like it wasn't like
Mhm.
I wasn't mind blown or whatever, but I did enjoy it. As far as originality, okay, I'm gonna dig a little bit deeper in this one. And it's gonna seem maybe a little bit like harsh, but it's not supposed to come across that way. Basically, I kind of felt that some of the sequences felt like they'd been done before. But like I said, that's not necessarily even a bad thing. The like angry wood chopping scene that we were talking about felt very reminiscent of the Amityville horror. There's a part where
Right.
George is like kind of starting to lose his mind, and his wife walks up on him, and he's just like, "Don't ever sneak up on." It kind of had like a similar vibe to like when Christian is like starting to chop the wood and thinking about breaking the banjo and stuff.
Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then I will also say that the airy nature of the cinematography and also like kind of the folk and farm element of the plot really, really reminded me of The Witch. And also, the end credits kind of confirmed it for me because the font they used to like like show the actors and like, you know, writer, like written by and directed by and all that stuff was almost indistinguishable from the font used on the movie poster for The Witch. So Eli Powers probably likes that movie, if I had to guess. Like it felt like it paid a lot of homage to it. I will say that I thought the juxtaposition of like the dangerous female character instead of the dangerous male character was cool. And then, like I said, I don't think that a film necessarily needs to be totally original in order for it to be enjoyable, which it was. And I believe that you enjoyed it too.
Yeah, I watched it a second time, so I definitely
Oh, that's
enjoyed it.
true. I'm gonna go back and watch it again. The overall entertainment value, just despite like the few awkward scenes that I mentioned, I thought it was pretty enjoyable, and I liked seeing Amanda Seyfried in something newer. I think this only came out like a few months ago,
Mhm.
and like I said, I'm a huge fan of hers, so I like to see like the range of acting that she's able to do. And overall, I think that the short film would have greatly benefited from a few extra minutes worth of like shots, but I understand it's not always possible due to like cost restrictions or like scheduling conflicts, or probably just, you know, not everybody had a bunch of time to do this. So who's to
Right.
say like maybe he intended for it to be a little bit longer or something like that. You just never know.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some of these like director's notes, and apparently it was like the sh- the shoot took them like 5 days.
Oh, really?
Um,
Where did you see the director's notes? That's sick. I'd like to read them.
yeah, it's
IMDb or something.
no, it's directorsnotes.com.
Ooh.
Oop, oop,
I'm
oop.
gonna have to go look into that.
Um, but he said here on the last day they had a rainstorm that came through, and it just completely devastated everyone because it was their last chance, and they were all
Oh,
crowded inside the horse stable just waiting for the rain to stop. And I'm just like, man, like just seeing what goes on behind the scenes as to a great short film, it's like that's crazy.
man, yeah. And so maybe there was supposed to be some extra film, or sorry, some
Oh
extra shots that
yeah,
would have maybe
for
furthered the plot,
sure.
but that just goes to show you, you never know.
You
You
never
never
know.
know. All right, guys. So that was Skin and Bone by Eli Powers. Do you think that this short film is a must see from what you've heard? And if you haven't seen it, will you guys be checking it out after this episode? I'd love to hear what you thought about it. It's a super easy watch. It's only, like Zoe said, like 16, 17 minutes. So it definitely doesn't take a lot of your time. It's like a lunchtime viewing. Like if you have a lunch break, like watch it real quick on your lunch
Hell
break.
yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was cool. Are there any other short films that you guys want us to discuss? Because we love doing them. And like I said, it's like pretty easy for us to do because it doesn't take like a whole lot of time. I know that there's probably some that I want Zoe to watch with me, but I watch them for pleasure as well, not just to talk about on the podcast.
Mhm.
So anyway, guys, that's all for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, bye.
Bye guys.
Is there a story, film, or topic you want us to discuss in an upcoming episode? Email your suggestions to terrortakeoverpod@gmail.com. Intro music by Carl Casey at White Bat Audio.